I want my passport back. I want my citizenship back. Yo, Home Affairs is stressing me out, guys. Home Affairs in South Africa. You're stressing me out. I can't imagine what it must be like for those who are in South Africa and are being stressed out like by Home Affairs. Because at least with me, I can justify that I'm not in South Africa, in the UK at the moment. So maybe getting the answers or trying to sort out the problem that I have will be a problem. Right, let me give you context of why I'm saying this and why it's making me so angry and so upset that something needs to be done about this Home Affairs. Either they fire everyone and rehire, or I don't know, because not even Jesus can save us with the situation with Home Affairs. So just to give you the context of the story, a few years ago, some of you know the story. A few years ago, I lost my citizenship. I did do a story about that, which 12 years later, there was a court case which we won. It went to Constitutional Court. We won that anybody that lost their citizenship could get their South African citizenship back. Cool. Again, after the court ruled out, there was a video that I saw on socials that was done by Leon, the guy who's in charge of Home Affairs now, to say they've set up this portal. People can go there and reapply to get their citizenship back. I did a video about that, and the same day I saw the video, I went onto the link and I created the account, because you had to create an account. I created the account and I started the process. But when I put my ID, it would not recognize me, right? And tried all different things, emailed, tried to make phone calls. To this day, I still cannot be helped. I know that there are people who already done this process and it has worked for them. Good on you. But at the same time, I know that there's loads of us who are hitting a brick wall with this application, and this is where my frustration is coming from. Why can't Home Affairs set up something that actually works? It probably worked for that day or for a certain number of people, and then after that it was like, okay, we're not working. It decided, either it crashed, I don't know what had happened, but all I know is it is not working for everyone else, and it is frustrating. You know, yes, I understand these things happen, okay? But if people are letting you know that there's a problem, get on top of it, sort it out. Don't put something and tell people they need to do that only to find out that you did not account to if loads of people come and if this thing crashes out, what other problems we can have. I feel like they rushed into setting this thing up without really doing it proper. And if you're going to do cheap jobs and jobs that are you just ticking a box, something like this is going to happen. So that means then I have to book the flights and come home. And I am praying, if I jump on this flight and I come to South Africa to try and sort this thing out, you better make sure you don't give me excuses, that because that's really gonna annoy me. And I don't want to be worked up. I can feel now that I'm getting worked up, because every time I have to deal with anything that has to do with Home Affairs, this is how I feel. This is how it makes me feel. But like I said, I don't know how the people in South Africa, can't imagine the frustration for them when they cannot get any help, you know. Yes, I can travel with my British passport, but I want my citizenship back. You know, I'm a South African through and through, but also I just feel like my kids are being cheated because they could have that choice of having the second citizenship, which is South African. But until I am sorted out, my kids can't have it, can't have theirs done. So it is frustrating. It's my born right. You know, I was born in that country, so I want it back. So don't make things difficult for people that are outside of South Africa to obtain these paperwork, to do these things, you know. And I see almost every now and again, Home Affairs is announcing they've done this, they've created this, No, how about you sort out the issues that are there first before you can create all the other things, new things that you're creating? Because creating new things when the system that you have is not working for the people that it should be serving, for me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You know, I could use my South African passport to travel to other countries. That requires me to pay for a visa if I'm using my British passport. I know right now it sounds as if I'm being selfish, but I want my passport back. I want my citizenship back. So that means I'll have to fly to South Africa to come and sort it out. That's what I'm going to have to do. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next video.
Fellow South Africans, Africans in particular, you know, the Department of Home Affairs has been found to be in contempt of court. Okay, this is in relation to a gentleman who applied for a citizenship and, you know, a citizenship by naturalization. So he held a PR, a permanent resident, a permit for over 5 years. And this gentleman is married to a South African. So what happened was the department really did not grant him the naturalization or the citizenship, citing some discretion, you know, points that needs to be verified and all of that. But the department's refusal was against actually Section 88 of the Immigration of the Citizenship Act of 1995. So the court ruled that once you are a permanent resident holder in South Africa and was married to a South African, and if you held that PR for over 5 years, you can apply for a citizenship. Okay? And Home Affairs has got no discretion, none whatsoever, as per this ruling, that they've got no choice but to grant with immediate effect a citizenship. So if you are a permanent resident holder and you have been holding or you held that a PR for over 5 years, you need to apply for a citizenship by naturalization. Okay.
Concern about our people not getting jobs is a legitimate concern, and we've got a duty to do that. And of course, there's also an equally legitimate concern when some of our businesses don't employ South Africans but employ people from outside the continent because they give them, because they are prepared to accept low wages. It's wrong. But we will, you know, we have to do the right thing and educate our people and say to them that illegality will not be tolerated. And we will also, from a CAF, we will issue those statements. We have to say we support the cooperation, the working together of Africans on the continent. We will not tolerate, we cannot support illegality. We cannot support illegal migration. You cannot. Because all over the world you've got, and some of the leaders are correct when they raise issues to say that, you know, if we should try and create jobs in those countries, man. Forget about people from outside South Africa. If you don't create jobs in Limpopo, you don't create jobs in KwaZulu-Natal, you don't create jobs in Eastern Cape, people will leave the rural areas and come to the cities because they need jobs. So we need to work together to try and create jobs in the countries, in our neighboring countries.
Right, okay, so the High Court orders Home Affairs to grant a foreign national citizenship or face jail time. The North Gauteng High Court has given the Department of Home Affairs just 15 days to recognize a foreign national, Mikhail Sakharov, a South African citizen by naturalization. If the Minister and the Director General failed to comply, they could each face 90 days in prison. The court dismissed Home Affairs' late application and found them in contempt for ignoring a previous order. This ruling once again exposes the deep, dysfunctional and misplaced priorities inside the Department of Home Affairs. While ordinary South Africans battle endless delays, corruption and denial of basic documents by court order to fast-track citizens for foreign national under threat of imprisonment, it perfectly illustrates why public anger over immigration and home affairs failures continues to grow stronger every single day. So yes, it makes a complete sense. A lot of the reason why we're having these immigration problems in the first place is because home affairs are the endless delays and the corruption within the department, and just a lack of getting things done is what's causing this backlog, is what's causing foreigners not to be able to get their documents, visas, permits, citizenships in time. And this is why we're having ever so much growing of illegal foreigners in the country. So yeah, once again, the North Gauteng High Court has instructed the Department of Home Affairs, more specifically the Director General and the Minister, to approve Mikhail Sakharov's citizenship under naturalization or face possible 90 days in prison.
Children born in South Africa to foreign national parents do not automatically become citizens. That's the ruling of the Polokwane High Court. It dismissed an application by Zimbabwean parents who wanted their children issued with South African birth certificates. Now, for some clarity on exactly what works and what the intricacies of this are, we're joined by immigration expert Gary Eisenberg. Gary, a very good morning to you. Now, common belief and common perception from the layman is that if you are born in a country, you automatically become a citizen of that country by virtue of birth. But clearly this is not the case.
It's certainly not the case in South Africa. Before the 1st of January 2013, if a person was born in South Africa of a single permanent resident parent, that person was born a South African citizen. After the 1st of January 2013, in order for a person born in South Africa immediately to be born a South African citizen, at least one parent must be a South African citizen. In fact, if a person is born anywhere in the world, South Africa, Kenya, Russia, United States, and one parent was a South African citizen at the time of that person's birth, that person would have been born a South African citizen if one parent was a citizen at the time of the birth and is not subject to a birth registration. In law, that person would be a South African citizen. Polokwane case that you have referenced dealt with a person born in South Africa, a minor child, born of a parent who was neither a South African citizen nor a permanent resident, and therefore the person was not born a South African citizen. Citizenship is a creature of statute, and if the statute does not enable the person to tick all the boxes for citizenship, for a qualification for citizenship, the person is not a South African citizen or doesn't qualify for citizenship. And that's what happened here.
So let's look at countries, Gary, that do apply or put in place what is called birthright citizenship. And I guess the common example that we all make reference to is the United States. If you're born in the United States, there are no ifs, ands, or buts. You will become an American citizen.
That's quite right. There are few countries like that where you are born on that country's soil just because of that and nothing else, you're born a South African citizen. But citizenship is becoming more restrictive in various parts of the world, including South Africa. As time passes, our laws are becoming stricter and stricter regarding citizenship. In fact, South Africa's white paper on international migration, adopted by the Zuma cabinet in 2017, suggested that people should never graduate to citizenship by naturalization, even though they might have held permanent residence for the last 50 years. And that might be coming. That might become law in this country. It's always been the case that if a permanent resident of South Africa has resided in South Africa continuously for at least 5 years, that person would qualify for citizenship thereafter. And this government wants to change that and sever a permanent resident's right to qualify for permanent residence. So as time moves on, South Africa, and that's the country of our focus this morning, citizenship is certainly becoming more of a restricted species.
Let's focus, Gary, on this particular case. In this instance, the gentleman was in South Africa, from my understanding, on a work permit. His partner was here on a visitor's permit. They then have given birth to their 3 children in South Africa. But what the court said here is that they failed to establish the grounds for citizenship in terms of either birth or naturalization. Explain that to us. The birth part you have. Talk to us about the naturalization.
Yes. So, as I said just now, a person born in South Africa and neither of their parents are permanent residents or citizens, just like in the Polokwane case you've referenced, are not born South African citizens. And therefore, they won't be issued with printed birth certificates. Printed birth certificates are certificates printed with information held by South Africa's so-called population register, administered by the Director General in terms of the Identification Act. And it is only information of citizens or permanent residents that's uploaded into the population register. And that explains why persons born in South Africa who are not born citizens do not get printed birth certificates. They get printed.
So Gary, in this instance, Gary, what do they get? Because a child has been born, they've got to be noted in one way or another. What does the hospital give to the parents?
Well, they certainly, their births are noted. That information is kept on a birth register, but that information is not kept in South Africa's population register, so they are given handwritten birth certificates, not printed birth certificates. And in this particular case, as far as I understand, the parents wanted printed birth certificates. Printed birth certificates are only issued to South African citizens or permanent residents, and therefore these children were neither. So they didn't qualify for South African citizenship by birth because they were not born of parents who were citizens or permanent citizens at the time of their birth.
Very clearly explained to us. Thank you so much. That's immigration expert again.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Trending News Update, your trusted source for South African breaking news and current affairs. Today's story comes from the Polokwane High Court. Many people believe that simply being born in South Africa automatically makes a child a South African citizen. But is that really what the law says? The Polokwane High Court's decision has renewed national discussion about citizenship, immigration, and children's rights. The key takeaway is that citizenship questions are governed by South African law, and individual cases depend on the facts and the legal requirements. We'll continue following any developments and keep you informed. Should South Africa change its citizenship laws, or should the current legal framework remain in place? Share your respectful opinion in the comments below. If you found this report informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more South African breaking news and current affairs.